There is something reassuring about reading a well-done, good old-fashioned lesbian book. I felt that way when I read my autobiography of Carson McCullers, a memoir by Jenn Shapland, published by Tin House in 2020. That the book was a finalist for the National Book Award is evidence of how far things have progressed. I've long been a fan of the writer Carson McCullers and have always thought of her as a lesbian, but alas, as Shapland writes, the world begs to differ. In my autobiography of Carson McCullers, Jenn Shapland takes on the homophobia of the literary establishment, much to this reader's delight. She also quotes many lesbian authors of previous generations in the text, including the estimable late Audre Lorde. Of course, there is much self-interest in how much I love reading the book. It means that the previous generations of lesbian writers did something right as we fought to be heard in the world. And it also means our words have not been forgotten. In my autobiography of Carson McCullers, Shapland searches for clues to her own queer identity as she researches the life, letters, and therapy transcripts of Carson McCullers. In particular, she discusses her own life when she felt she had to stay in the closet, and the closet that McCullers lived in was where it was put in. Shapland explains how unhealthy that is. Carson McCullers was born in 1917 in Columbus, Georgia, and was a well-known novelist, short story writer, playwright, and essayist. She was friends with prominent artists of the time, including Tennessee Williams. As Shapland points out in the book, McCullers was well known during her lifetime and still is an important American author. Carson McCullers' writings include The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, The Member of the Wedding, and The Ballad of the Sad Cafe. Carson was sickly and died young in her 50th year. She is known for her characters who include misfits and outsiders, meaning that she wrote about race, people with disabilities, and in the parlance of the time, homosexuals. As Shapland writes, McCullers would have hated the turn that America took in its choice of a quote president in 2016. After the presidential election of 2016, Shapland explores her feelings by writing. I felt cut open. I kept recalling a passage from Member of the Wedding when the news of the war and the world instability hits Frankie for the first time. Frankie stood looking up and down at the furrowed walls of the room. She thought of the world, and it was fast and loose and turning, faster and looser and bigger than had been before. Finally, she stopped looking around the 4 kitchen walls and said to Bernice, I feel just exactly like someone has peeled all the skin off me. Ultimately, Shapland writes about love, how beautiful it is, and how necessary it is not to stifle or closet it. In reading my autobiography of Carson McCullers, a memoir by Jenn Shapland, published by Tin House, I learned more about Carson McCullers than I knew before. Just as importantly, the book is a damn good memoir and an inspiring read. This is Janet Mason reviewing for BookTube.